All right, so at this point, these notes are not in your binder, or I'm sorry, in your packet, but you can take notes on a separate sheet of paper if you'd like, or you can just chill and listen. So I'm just going to kind of go over some basics about angles. So we've talked about line segments, lines and rays, and points, and now we're going to talk about what if these rays make an angle. So there are several different ways to name an angle. If you look at this picture here, one example is if this point right here, this is one thing that can't change. This is always going to be what we call the vertex, okay? And it always has to be in the middle. So if I wanted to name this angle, I would call it X, Y, Z, and then you're going to put this little symbol in front. That means it's an angle. Please note the vertex always has to be in front. You can also name this angle just by the vertex, which is angle Y, or obviously you could do it in the other order, Z, Y, X. But again, the vertex must always be in the middle. All right, if you wanted to sketch your own angle, these are my initials, M, L, J. So I can name this angle J, angle L, angle M, L, J, or angle M, J, L, M. And please note the L is always in the middle because it's the vertex. And it's also kind of cool because the sides of an angle are always rays. So if I wanted to name the sides of this angle up here, it would be YX and YZ. And for my angle, it would be LM and LJ. Please remember that when you're labeling a ray, the end point always has to comes first. Okay? And then lastly, the vertex is the common end point. In this case, it was point L, and in this case, it was point Y. All right, next. Please note that if I'm talking about the exterior of the angle, I'm kind of talking about, I'm just drawing dots here to show you. The exterior is the outside, and then the interior would be inside here, right? And it's on the interior of the angle if it's inside, and it's exterior if it's outside the sides. And then what we do is we give this angle here degrees, and that's what we're going to learn how to do today, is how to figure out what portion of a full circle, if I drew a full circle, right, what portion of that circle is this angle? And that's where we get degrees. So 1 degree is 1/360th of a circle. All right, but before we go there, what I'd like you to do is come up with some definitions. And so if you open to page 11, it looks something like this. This is page 11 in your packet. You're going to see a bunch of the vocabulary words that have to do with angles. These are going to be, you're going to see these throughout the unit. And you're going to go ahead and come up with definitions for these. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to look at pages 12 and 13. Okay? And you're going to analyze the examples and the non-examples to generate your own definitions. Okay? So you're going to go ahead and see if you can come up with your own definition first, and then we're going to share with the people at your table. And then you're going to come up with a team definition, and then that's what you can write on the sheet of paper. So you're going to write down some notes on page 12 through 13, some notes about what you think a good definition of each of these words is, looking at the examples and the counterexamples, and then you're going to come together as a team and come up with your terms to write on page 11. Okay. If you are just totally stuck, a great source would be to go on Google and go ahead and use Google as a resource. So page 11 must be completed with good definitions for all of these words. All right, the last thing we're going to do today is learn how to measure an angle using a protractor. This link is in Pages if you would like to play around with it. But basically a protractor looks something like this. And what you do is you put the point of your protractor on the vertex of your angle. And this should line up over here with 0. Okay, so that's, now you'll notice there's two ways to read it. One where it starts at 180 and the numbers start going down. And the second way to read it is where the numbers start at 0 and they're going up by 10. So if you're going to read this angle, you have to read this line here, where they start at 10 and they go up. And you'll notice that where my line crosses is somewhere between 120 and 110, but it's much closer to 120. So I'm going to make a good estimate, and I'm going to say that it's probably about 118 degrees. So I'm going to say this angle here, oops, is approximately 118 degrees. All right. Once again, you will use your protractors that are in your bucket. So whatever color. Okay, so here again, I'm going to put this on the vertex. And I'm going to twist this so that it matches. And you'll notice that this says 180, this one starts at 0. So I'm going to be looking at the outside numbers. And I'm going to trace along, and I can see that it's approximate, it's almost exactly on 70. Do y'all see that? The other option is 110, but it's the smaller angle because you have to start where 0 is, so it's 70. I can also see that this is an acute angle, and I know from being smart that an acute angle is less than 90 degrees. So this is a 70-degree angle. So you're going to measure numbers 1 through 10, and then see if you can answer the challenge problem on page 15. Your practice is page 16. So check your answers, and then your practice is page 16. Here we go. Page 16. And again, your exit ticket. You can find the code, but it's join.quizzes.com. So let's go back here. As you can see, these are the measures that you should get for numbers 1 through 8. And again, if you're within a range, so for number 1, if you're within the range of, say, 175 to 185, you're doing a good job. So if you're 5 less or 5 more, you're in the range, and that'll be okay. And that's the same with the EOC. They accept the same answers. So for number 1, it says, what are congruent angles? And so let's remind ourselves that congruent means the same. And what are they looking for in this question? And this is at the bottom of page 15. Okay, so congruent angles are the same. Or equal, okay? And in this case, we don't have any. Using the diagram to the right, in a protractor, find the measure of RSP. RSP is approximately 50 degrees. PST is approximately 20 degrees. So if I wanted to find the measure of the whole thing, we would just add 50 plus 20. And that's 70 degrees. So hopefully you were able to use your protractor and measure. For your practice problems, you can just look directly on here. So if it says MLN, you're going to start at M. Remember, this is your vertex. So you're going to go from M to L, trace up to N. And you can see, again, you're going to start, we're going to look at this side, because we have to start from 0. So it's exactly 60 degrees. Down here, this is still page 16. The second set of problems says classify each angle as acute, right, obtuse, or straight. So once again, MLN had 60 degrees. So 60 degrees we now know is an acute angle. So we'd say this is acute. We're looking at number 12. What's another name for X, Y, W? I'm going to trace it, X. Y is going to be my vertex up to W. Well, I can see we can also call that angle 1. Okay, use the figure on the right to answer these questions. So if F, X, H is 130 degrees, so I'm going to trace that, F, X to H. This whole thing is 130. What is F, X, G? So we want to know this part here. Well, it says up here that FXG is 49 degrees. So this is just simply 49 degrees. All right, name a straight angle. Well, remember a straight angle is a straight line. So I would say angle FXI, because this makes a straight line. Number 10, you're going to use the picture. Big point, our ZT is 110 degrees, so that's your hole. It's 110 degrees. RZS, that's your part, and TZS, that's a part, and you want to figure out what they are. So first we have to figure out what S is, so we know that part plus part equals hole. So it's going to be 3S plus 8S equals 110. You can figure out what S is and then plug it in from there. All right, so again, you're going to answer the questions on page 16, and you will be completing your exit ticket for quizzes. Where was that? Here. So finish page 16 and your exit ticket.